Liberia. Good afternoon, good afternoon, and good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, and we want to welcome you to our broadcast here. I focus on Liberia. A special guest is in studio. Benjamin Kofa Fanel is in studio as my guest in today's edition of our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Anthony C., your host. Welcome, welcome, and welcome to the broadcast. Our topic for today is one that will get you saying yes. That is what we should be talking about. And why? Because our topic is talking about the Liberian voters, the ones who decide who becomes president, the one who decide who become our senators and representatives. It is the Liberian voter who decides. And so today we will be talking about the Liberian voter and the psyche of the Liberian voter. In this edition, we will be doing more of an interaction. So those of you who are here, be ready to send in your calls. My guest, Benjamin Kofa Fanen, and I will interact after his brief presentation. And then I will quiz him. And within 30 minutes after that, we will bring you in. You can call, and we want you to call. And I have a few questions for you when you call that you need to answer. And also, we will take your comments. And so, welcome to the broadcast. This is Focus on Liberia. We educate, we elevate, we promote all things Liberia. Let me now welcome my guest. I always call him Ben. Ben, welcome to Focus on Liberia. I'm glad to have you.
I want to say thank you for your platform and especially people listening to us that are resident in Liberia
Mhm.
and just everybody. I really like this kind of interaction because it gives us the opportunity to to dialogue in a civil and very positive environment. So I'm happy to be here, and I say hello, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Hello and welcome to the show.
My guest, Ben, there, he's also known as Kofa. And many of you know him at Ben Finn on Facebook. Something you may not know, he is a presidential hopeful for the 2023 presidential elections. But that is not why we are here. Like you, Ben is also a voter. He talks to a lot of people in Liberia, and he has the potential to tell these people who to vote for. And so he has concern, like many of us do, about the Liberian voter, or the Liberian voters, if you like. So we'll be looking at the psyche and also why the Liberian voters have been voting the way they do vote all the time. We will look at the demography of the Liberian voter, their voting pattern. We'll look at their psyche, and then there will be an interaction with you, the viewers, and also uh, my guests. We will have that interaction. And so, Ben, let's get started. Uh, Anything you want to tell my viewers about yourself that they need to know?
Well, I think the basic thing I need to tell them is that my name is Benjamin Kofa Fanir. I'm a very ordinary Liberian. I was born in West Point in Monrovia, Liberia, and I am running for I will be contesting for the presidency of the Republic of Liberia come the elections of 2023. I am, I strongly believe that that election will be a turning point. So if you look at my slogan, it says COFA 2023, the turning point. That is, it is time, it is high time that Liberians, especially so those with vision and those with the political fortitude, those who have the ability to enforce laws, put themselves out there for public office. I believe 2023 is a turning point for Liberia. That's why I'm heavily invested. And I will encourage your audience to listen to me, to engage me, and I will welcome disagreements. because we need this kind of dialogue to move forward. So I'm very happy to be here. I would say I'm excited to be here today. This going to turn out to be a very good show.
Ben, I guarantee you, you can count on Focus on Liberia for responsible work here when it comes to information dissemination and also, a national conversation. It will always be civil and responsible here. Let's get started, my friend. Why do Liberian voters remain your greatest concern? That will be the opening question for you. And you can also use that time to make your presentation about what you know the Liberian voter or voters to be.
Well, in a democracy, there's
Mhm,
something called citizen participation.
mhm.
And in Liberia, that is, I would say, based on the evidence that we have,
Right.
uh, it is not too apparent. That is, I don't see the citizens fully engaged in the democratic process. But before I even start, let's look at what is a citizen. We should first define what is a citizen.
Mhm.
Then we also define his or her role and responsibility. These are universally accepted norms. Citizen, no matter wherever you are born, you should support and defend the constitution of where you are born. Number two, it is critical. You should stay informed of issues that affect your community. The first thing is your community, your local community, before I'm talking about the nation at large. Three, you should participate in the democratic process. Let me say why this is important. There are some people say, oh, I don't vote, or my vote don't matter, or my vote don't count. What I tell them is that if you don't vote, whoever votes, whoever gets elected, their decisions, their laws, any action they take is binding on you. So to a large extent, you owe it to yourself to participate in the democratic process. You do that mostly by staying informed, by voting, and by also questioning candidates who come to you and ask for votes. Now, the fourth thing, as a citizen, no matter where you live, you should respect and obey your national as well as local laws. You must do that because every citizen is expected that you be law abiding and you be productive. Now, the next one is you should also respect the rights and beliefs and opinions of other people. We live in a society that is kind of split, where a few people, I would say, they are not open to the ideology or the ideas of other people. There are many people. I went on a show last night. I would kind of consider it friendly, but someone called me and said, "Well, the show was hostile." No, differences of opinion, they are welcome in a democracy because diversity is good. Diversity is our strength. So as a citizen, you have to respect the rights, beliefs, and opinions of other people, whether it be their religion, their ideology, their way of life. You have to respect that. The last thing that is very important here, this is for the critical part that is missing in Liberia. You have to participate in your local community. Your local community, the people who are listening to us, I want to throw this out there for you. When was the last time? I'm not trying to pick on West Point because that's where I was born. When was the last time someone heard of the resident, the citizen in West Point having a community meeting discussing their welfare? Maybe it's all about how to construct a new school, how to improve housing, how to improve healthcare. In your community. I want somebody to tell me, oh, I was in West Point, 10 months ago, and the citizens gather to discuss their own welfare. When you do that, it is important because whatsoever you arrive at, you also impose that on your elected representative, because your elected representative, he has a responsibility to enact policies, to enact laws, to improve your life. But the first thing is the citizen has to be interested in himself. That's how he can impose that on whoever he elects. Say, okay, you come here and you ask me to vote for you, but these and these and these and these and these are the problems that I face. And tell me how you can help me alleviate some of those problems. That is the first part. And thank you, sir.
Benjamin Kofa there making his opening presentation. And so, Ben, are you trying to say because these qualities, these roles and responsibilities, as you classify them, are not being performed by the people, one, or two, that they have no knowledge of those responsibility and roles? Is that why you don't see them engaging in those roles and responsibility? What you think is responsible?
I would say it's a two-pronged problem. The first thing is up to 1980, the fabric of Liberian society was destroyed. The fabric was destroyed completely. We had an election in 2005. You can see, a lot of people say, well, post-war election, there were some people who were war weary, they were exhausted of war, so people just voted. But we had another election in 2011. See, that for me, that is the start point. That is the critical point, because we had 6 year post-war election. That's a 2005 to 2011. That is when I thought the citizens would have adequately, engaged candidates. But let me tell you why I'm emphasizing this. You see, I talked to a few people before I came on the show, and a lot of people were telling me about, maybe most Liberians are not educated enough. I do not buy that. Let me tell you why. I don't need an education to know that I'm hungry. I don't need an education to know that my child don't go to school. I don't need an education to know that I live in a slum. I don't need an education to know that where I live, when it rains, there's flood and everything. I don't need an education for that. That is the most important thing of a human being. You should be interested in yourself. And to a large extent, whoever comes to you saying, I'm contesting for leadership to represent you, that person, to a large extent, should be socially obligated to alleviating the plight that you face. So in 2011, I expected the voters to be more informed, to be more abreast with the issues that they face, so that whenever somebody comes to them and say, well, I want to contest, they should engage. Let me just bring that to now. Anthony, you are in the media. I can, those of our guests, those people who are listening, we are literally weeks away from a major election, weeks away. I have never seen a documentation. I'm not talking about, somebody talking. I have not seen a document saying that, oh, my name is John Brown. This is my agenda. These are my policy. These are my plans. These are the things that I would do. And most importantly, I will do this in 90 days. I will do this in 100 days, or I will do this in a month. Because let me tell you what timing is important. When somebody gives you a plan and attach a time span to it, you can grade that person. You say, oh, you told me you would do this in 90 days. It's 120 days, that thing never happened. So that person can be determined to be a failure.
So
See, that's why everybody, yeah.
Ben, let me come in. You said something profound that might be debatable here. You said the voters must show interest in themselves.
Yeah.
You follow that by saying the voters don't need education to know that they are hungry, that they need water, that their children need to be in school. So I'm asking this question. Are you suggesting that the voters don't have interest in themselves, even though you acknowledge that they do not need education to know that they are hungry, to know that they need electricity? So I see a contradiction there. Tell me there's no contradiction.
No, I would say to some extent, there's something, maybe the voters are weary. There are some people, wherever you go in the world, they just assume that my vote don't matter. Like, no matter how I vote or who I vote for, my vote don't count. I mean, I think that could be one aspect, but most importantly, you and myself, I just want to stress one point. I don't know you too much, but I know myself. I can tell you, my mom was not sufficiently educated. She wasn't. She wasn't. But my mom made sure that we go to school. She wasn't sufficiently educated because every human being who is born, the focus once you hit adulthood is
So,
that
so
my
Ben, are you
children's
trying to
life.
agree
Hold,
and,
hold,
and, and, and
hold
disagree
on.
with your own previous comment
No,
that the people
no,
have
hold on.
interest in themselves?
No, hold on, sir. Let me just land.
Okay.
Every human being that is born, your number one focus is that my children's life should be better than mine. But what is happening here? I don't see sufficient interest in terms of engaging the people who are contesting for public office. That is my concern here. I want them to sufficiently engage these people so that these people should enter literally like a contract. Because you see, when you run for office, you are expected to have entered a social contract with the people that you say you want to represent. But I want the people now should be more or less placing more demands. They say, well, these and these and these and these are our conditions. Can
So
you tell
Ben,
us
the
how?
people have interest in themselves, except that they're not making the necessary demands based on the interest that they have in themselves. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
All right. Then let's do this, Ben. And folks in cyberspace following us here, stay with us. This is Focus on Liberia. This is our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Anthony Sie, your host. We are discussing the topic, the Liberian voters and the Asaki. This is a show meant for interaction with you, the audience, my guests, and myself. So very soon we'll open our phone lines for you to call. And whether or not you are in the US as a Liberian, we know you have influence on friends and family members in Liberia, and you always try to encourage them who to vote for. So you know how they think and what they think. And that is why we are discussing a very important topic. But then let me come to this aspect of the demographic
Yeah,
of the Liberian voter. And then I'll also talk about their voting pattern. And then
yeah,
we'll get into their psyche a little bit. So
yeah.
define for me, in terms of demographic, who are the Liberian voters?
Yes. Oh, that is a very, thank you, my brother. You are such, let me tell you, see, one of the things
Mhm,
that I pride myself in, even where I work, I
mhm,
like reading reports.
mhm.
And I will give you some numbers. I'm not making up those numbers. I'm telling you the numbers from the National Election Commissioner in Liberia.
Okay.
If you can go to necliberia.org,
Mhm,
it stated that in the 2017 election, the majority of the people that voted to get George Weah elected. Now listen to this, the majority, they were 42% of the votes. They were between the ages of 18 to 25. 18 to 25. Somebody told me something, I raised that to a friend, and let me just tell you the interaction we had.
mhm.
When I told him that stats, he said, oh, but then it is sad for Liberia because most of the people who are making decisions, I'm talking, these people are the majority of the voters.
Right.
He said they are mostly Zogos, that's what he told me. I said, no, they can all not be. But what I learned from that number is whoever is crafting any agenda, any program, anything of contesting for elected office
Mhm,
should more or less be concerned with targeting these people to making them to understand that their first priority to anything should be their own interest. As we speak to me and you on this phone, Liberia is almost at 92% unemployment. And that unemployment is mostly the same young people. So those young people voted with hopes and dreams. They voted on no concrete plan, no concrete agenda. And here they will say hope is not a strategy. When you vote for people, there
mhm.
should be some kind of roadmap, there should be a game plan, there should be a strategy to alleviate some of the plight that you face. And that's what I want to wake them up to tell them that this election that will come in the next few weeks, as you go in, as you cast your vote, ask yourself, what am I voting for? What and why am I voting for this person? When you have that knowledge, when you can answer those questions yourself, then you'll be what I call an informed voter. You'll be an issue-based voter because at least you made your decision based on concerns for yourself, your community, your family, and the nation at large.
Then Ben, let me ask a question. Now we're talking about demographic.
Yeah,
The young people you talk about that make up
yeah.
bulk or majority of the voting population, do you know the reasons for which they vote?
Well, that's what I just told you right now. For me, my target would be to reach them because the thing is an interaction. I
Mhm.
have to understand them. Based on how they voted, I cannot understand why they voted the way they did. I cannot until I can positively engage them. I've met with a few of them. Most people I influence. There's something called herd instincts.
Mhm.
Like my friend is in CDC or my best friend is in LP, so I will go and join. I
Right.
will say no to that. I want these people to join parties to place allegiance based on concrete understanding of policies and programs. Until you can reach that point, you will be literally casting your vote blindly. And that's my goal. You see, last time I did a post and somebody came and laughed at me. I said, well, I want to devise a way that I can successfully communicate with Zogos. But the guy didn't understand. He said, no. I said, no, because until I can reach these people so that they can understand me, understand what I stand for, and give them my platform, give them my programs, I will not be making headway because these people constitute the majority of the voters, the majority. And to win an election, you need majority of the votes. So until you can reach these people, identify with them, understand, and make them think properly, especially so with their own interest in mind, then we cannot
So
solve what's ongoing right now.
so Ben, stay on the young people. Will
Yeah,
you, knowing what you just said, that it
yeah.
has been the young people who have been voting for almost all of our leaders in majority, will you say the young people are more of the problem for the country since they are the one who decide who our
Yeah,
leaders
you see, that
become
was
and they continue to
that's
do
a
it
good.
over and over? Will you say they are responsible more or the leaders that they elected are responsible more?
I would say this.
Mhm,
Politics, a leader is a reflection of the people.
mhm,
I will always tell you this: the voters have a crucial responsibility.
mhm,
They have a key responsibility. I will blame them for voting for people without some kind of social contract with those people. I'll blame them for that because you can't you don't just vote. That one vote you have in your hand is power. You can't just vote like that. You must vote, and I mean there must be a reason. There must be a basis for your decision. You must have a basis for your decision. Don't be influenced by your friends, by your family, by whatever. You must have a basis, especially so your self-interest. Let me just say this, and I will, this this was shocking to me. This is from Legis, I think the Liberia Institute
Geo
Statistics.
Information
Yeah.
Services.
Now, listen to the statistics. Household in Liberia that use the bush for
Latrine.
latrine. Yes, that use the bush. This is Legis. It's not me. I took it from their website. It's Legis. This is their statistics. Now, this is what they counted. That is, they are 334,119. They, they are like almost 50% of the household. That means people with no toilet. With no toilet, they go in the bush. The next grade is household that have pit latrine. They are 141,000. If you combine them, almost 60% of the population. 60%.
Is this new, Ben?
No, I'm just telling you. If
Mhm.
whatever is new, at some point we have to correct it based on the data, based on the information. So when somebody comes to me and say, "Well, I want to run for office in this community," I will say, "Well, but these are the statistics. Our people use the bush for latrine. What programs do you have to help us? To help us fix this?" I'm telling you, but almost 70% of our people don't have proper latrines, but people are voting.
So Ben,
Then the law
let me
makes.
bring you to this quickly. You made your point on the latrine. There's very important statistics right there. I mean, it tells a lot, right? How people don't have access to basic facility that people need on a daily basis to feed that they live in a decent life. That is why it
Yeah.
shows that, and that is excellent. It's good that you brought it up. But something you said that the leaders are the reflection of the people that voted for them. Was that right? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So now you attributed part of the problem to the youthful voting population because they have voted for the leaders we have in the majority. Now, I can say to you too that, well, the voters, the young voters are themselves products of the system meaning maybe our voting culture in Liberia. That is how Liberians have been voting. So I don't know where you expect these young people to magically come off with better voting decision when they are just product of a system that has no history of producing good leaders. So I don't think the
Okay.
young people are the problem here. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree with that. You see, there is something called an age of maturity. It is expected that Anthony and myself,
Mhm,
at the very least, when we hit 18 years old,
mhm.
we should start making better decisions.
Okay.
Because, I mean, in most parts of the world, you are known as an adult.
Right.
So maybe somebody hit 18, 20, 25, 30. That I'm saying is your decisions now will be based on the conditions of your own life. I'm not saying maybe somebody else, your own life, your decision, because at that age, now maybe you have a girlfriend, maybe you start having children, then you start thinking about not only yourself now, but the future of your children. So, to a large extent, as normal human beings, normal functioning people, one will expect better decisions. That's what I said. We can forego 2005 election. Let's look at 2011 onwards, because then pattern has been established. You know, history has been made. But please, I just want to stress this thing. We have lawmakers in Liberia that make thousands of dollars every month, thousands of dollars every month, literally for doing no work, for doing no work. How does that jive with the voters? This is not a secret. The guy is making all this money. So what happens? We vote for the guy with the mindset that he will change, he will transform our lives, but only he and his families, his wives and his children, their lives get transformed. Our life get worse or remains the same. That's why I'm squarely blaming the voters in terms of assessing the reason, the rationale for why they are voting. Let me just give you one stat. Let me give you one other stats. This is also from LIGIS.
Yeah, legist.
And I will tell you, yes, and I will tell you that this is troubling. In a river says, I'm in Liberia. Listen to this. In a county, they have only 79 registered businesses. Riverside County. 79, 70, I didn't make the statistics, it's right here. 79 registered businesses. 79. I mean, what does that tell me? So, how do the people in Riverside County, how do they live? How do they live? You have 79 businesses. This is the record, it's on the record. I didn't make the statistics.
And then
79
does the
businesses.
record tell you the capacity of those very businesses, number of employees, if they have? Does the record say that?
No, I mean, no, it don't say that, but what I can deduce from that county is literally dead. It's literally dead. Anthony, where you live, probably, I mean, on your street, you probably have over 100 businesses there. I mean, where you live, this is just a total county, Riverside County in Liberia. 79 registered businesses. I can show you 79 businesses.
Then
So,
we know that is the tragedy of Liberia, and I describe
what
it
I'm
in my
saying is,
recent point as the fairy tale of Liberian history. Continue.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, the residents in that county, They feel the pinch. They feel the lack of basic things like water, electricity. I mean, even schools for their children. The residents that they feel those things, but they are voting for a lawmaker that does nothing, that comes to them with no agenda, with no plans, with nothing, and you go ahead and vote for this man.
And Ben, there's a point you made earlier. I need to put you on it. You said there has been a voting pattern now. We had elections in 2005,
Yeah,
2011, and
yeah,
2017. Three
yeah.
separate elections. And between those, those elections, we have by elections, and the young people also had to vote. So you said that at least many of them now are at age 20, 21, 24, 25, coming to 30. So
Yeah.
their thinking must have matured. But look, culturally in Liberia, some people are at my age and they are still living with their parents because of the very poverty you talk about in Riverside County. So I'm saying this to say that the man might be of age to you, but because of his surrounding, the limitation of access, that man's mind is now grown enough to understand the implication of the decisions that he's making. So I'm saying this to ask a question. You think just the fact that there have been three successive elections in Liberia is enough for these people you call young people to be mentally upright to make decisions that will benefit them?
Well, I kind of want to agree with you. I mean to an extent, but
Mhm.
I also want to state the fact that the only thing natural with anybody living anything is
Mhm.
growth.
Yeah.
So my expectations would be, like I just said, the people living in those communities, they feel the pinch. They feel the pinch. Like they feel the pinch of property. I just talked to somebody in Liberia like 2 days ago, and the guy was literally in tears. He said he went to a community and the people were drinking from a well, and that well, the water was literally dirty. The water in the well was there. But all I'm trying to say is, you see, the focus should be on my own welfare. Are the voters? What is in this for me? Because when you vote, it's a trade-off, it's a bargain. What is in this for me? I'm giving, okay, like, I mean, the next few days, somebody will win an election to hold office for 9 years, almost a decade. And that individual will be making thousands of dollars every month. So what is in that? I mean, what is the bargain here for the voters? I mean, what are the voters gaining in that exchange? And that's what
Ben,
I'm saying.
Ben, you emphasize here that the voters' right to vote is that voters' power.
Yeah.
And I agree with that, and that is profound. But the voter has two bad choices, and yet he has to vote to exercise his right as a citizen. So he makes a decision to choose Kennedy X with the hope that Kennedy X will change his situation in Riverside County. Candidate X comes to power and does completely the opposite. Can you blame voter A for candidate X action?
See, you raise a key point. You raise a very key point. You see, that I mean, the thing that we started this conversation with was citizens' participation.
Mhm.
You see, there is something called the consent of those who live. I mean, in a community.
Mhm.
You see, whoever you elect is almost like an agreement. You say, well, we accept this man to represent us. So before we make those decisions, and I can't emphasize this enough, before we make those decisions, we have to be circumspect. We have to understand, the totality of the situation. Let me just say one last thing, before I can, I mean, give you the floor. Say, for instance, West Point, where I was born, we elected somebody there in 2005. We elected somebody in 2011 as well as 2017. West Point has over 20,000 people. 20,000 people. There is no sewage system there. There's no sewage system in West Point. So what was the trade-off for the voters? Why are they voting? And let somebody tell me, maybe I don't know. What did the voters gain for their choice? I mean, what did they gain? Let somebody tell me. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I can learn something new. But my expectations are that the voters will gain something. And so wherever you live in the United States, wherever you live, within 5 years, there must be transformation. There must be, change is the only constant. We cannot be voting for people and our lives, just be degenerating. That is an impossibility. It's a abnormality. That's why
Ben,
this show is good, because those who will call, please ask them, what are the basis for your vote?
thank you, Ben. And we will soon get to those callers right away for their comments and also their answers to the question, two questions that I have for them. Ben, my question is, at what point in a voter's life, maybe having had the opportunity of voting twice, and also at what point can a politician be held responsible? Maybe having had some years of serving, can you, Ben, look at that voter and say, you know what, I think at this point you are to be blamed because you have experience now. And to the elected official, at this point, I can blame you because you've been here for some time. At what point, at what instant, at what moment can
Yes,
you,
you
Ben,
see,
say enough is enough?
yes, you see, you raise a very key point. Let me just say this.
Mm-hmm.
Most constitutions in the world,
Mm-hmm.
most constitutions, they have entrenched in them what they call recall election. Maybe if whoever we voted for is incompetent, we can hold a snap election to replace him. I mean, now they have this. Well, they're gonna host a referendum. That is one of the key elements that should have been included in that referendum. Simply saying that there will be snap election due to incompetence. Most of the lawmakers, I talked to somebody from Babalu County, and this person told me, and they didn't understand how I was shocked. The person told me that they elected somebody in 2011, and we were actually talking about this thing like maybe 4 years past. It says since that individual was elected, they've not seen the person. They've not seen the person. Anthony, you are here. People have town halls. They bring their elected representative to interact. They bring to somehow, tell them that some of our needs need to be addressed. If we elected somebody and after 4 years we can see him, there's something wrong. So maybe we should also include recalls in our constitutional referendum so that somebody who is incompetent, somebody who don't do the job, somebody who goes AWOL can be removed. Those are the kind of constitutional amendments that we need, that I would be proposing, because we cannot be tied down to an incompetent person. I mean, look at it. It's 9 years. We have these senators for 9 years. So if this guy wins the election and he's incompetent, we stop with him.
All right,
So
folks in
that's one of the.
cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony C. and my guest is Benjamin Kofa Fanier, and we are discussing the Liberian voters, the psyche of the Liberian voters, and we also want to interact with you as voters. We are all voters, and we play a major role in election. Why do we vote the way we vote? What goes through our mind? What do we expect from these leaders? What did they tell us for which we vote for them? And why is it that even when they let us down, we continue to vote for them? Should we even vote for them when they let us down? These are the questions we are asking. Ben, let's go a little speedier so that we can bring our callers in. Let's come to the ethnic factor uh, in the mind of the Liberian voter. Has ethnicity been a factor of concern for you when it comes to voting?
I would say a big yes, and that is a tragedy.
Mhm.
It is a total tragedy because ethnicity, to a large extent, hampers development and progress in Africa. You cannot vote for somebody on the basis of ethnicity, or maybe he's from my region, or maybe he's from my party.
Mhm.
You should vote for people based on the quality of their argument or the quality of their proposals that will impact your life. So, what you're saying is a serious concern and it is totally harmful. That's why I was telling people don't support somebody because he's from the CDC or because he's from the ALP or because he's from the UP. Support someone based on the superiority of their programs.
And Ben, there is something in Liberia now that, party politics. I know you try to talk about that, and people say be party discipline. CDC is the one that trumpets that, the loudest. You got to be party discipline. You got to be loyal to your party. So, are these incentives dangerous for Liberia in terms of our democracy?
Oh, yes, they are. It is very dangerous. Very dangerous. Because
How
what
how
happened,
how Ben? The people must vote for their party, right?
no, what I'm saying is that's what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Because then I'm a police, I'm a political allegiance trumps competence.
Hmm.
That is even more that we are voting blind. It's almost like I'm voting for somebody based on my tribe. Like I said, people should be voted for based on the superiority of their platforms,
Hmm.
and the ability to even implement them.
Hmm.
It's not which party he's from.
And Ben, I came up with this word called political governmentship, from the word political god or political godfather. I came up with political governmentship. So political governmentship versus institution. And in this question, I'm talking about our democratic institutions. How is one voting for the person they pay allegiance to, their political leader, wrong as opposed to following what the democratic institutions will require?
Yeah, just like what I said, it is wrong. People shouldn't be voted for based on allegiance. That's what I mean. That is even termed as blind allegiance.
Mhm.
People should be voted for based on the superiority and the quality of their proposals, especially so their ability to implement them, that to a large extent will transform the lives of their constituents. So you don't vote for people based on allegiance. It is wrong. I mean, you and I, we are here. We see a lot of people out here cross lines. You know, I mean, some guy, I mean, it's a Republican, but he will vote for Joe Biden. Some guy is this. It just you vote for people based on the quality of their arguments. It's not based on some kind of group think. No, yeah, you don't do that.
All right, folks, in cyberspace, it's about time for you to place your calls. I'm willing to take the calls now. And this is the question I'm asking you, callers who are coming, who are about to call. Question number one: the voter and the politician. Who is the greater problem for our democracy and why? That is your question number one. Question number two: are voters in other countries different, better, or just as the same? I want to know that. Are voters in other countries better and different from the Liberian voters? I want to know. That is your question. And we also have a survey question on Facebook that I want you to participate in. And that question is: the voters and the politicians, who are our greatest problem? I see people are voting. I have 9% that voted that the voters are our greatest problem, and 7% voted saying the politicians are our greatest problem. So right now, more people are saying the voters are our greatest problem. That is 56%, and 47% say the politicians. So get your calls coming in. I will start taking calls now so that you can interact with my guest here, Benjamin Kofa Fanel. Ben, we have our first caller. Let me get that caller coming in here quickly. And that caller is Jimmy Eastman. Jimmy, welcome
Hello.
to Focus on Liberia. Quickly to the issue. Did you get the questions for you?
Yes. Hello. You
Yes.
got me?
Yeah, I got you. Go straight into
Hey,
it.
Anthony. I think you asked your guest a very good question, and that you told him that the voters, the youth, are a product of the society,
Mhm.
and adding to that, so is the government, and so are the politicians. You see, what we practice is who we are. It's not who we have in know what we know in our brain,
Mhm.
or we know the right and wrong. What we do is actually who we are. So the voters, they don't know any better than what they vote for. So they vote for people who give them rights. They vote for people who are tribally affiliated, or somehow connected to them through the community. Okay,
Mhm.
they don't look for platforms. I mean, you can tell somebody again. You made another point. You can tell somebody. I think your guest made a point that I will build these bridges, but they don't explain how they would build it. I will bring about education. They don't explain how they would do it, because that is the roadmap. The roadmap to do it is the thing. You can say anything, but to do it is one.
Right.
So what you are doing now is trying to enlighten the youth as to what things to consider
Mhm.
before voting, and not just how much rights they're giving you, your party affiliation, or your tribal link or community link to the person. But until they are exposed to these things, until they are educated, even in this country, the most advanced country in the world,
Mhm.
Jefferson said, until we educate our voting population, we will not have a good democracy. So that is why we have the situation currently, because the voters are not aware of what they should be voting for and what it should not be voting for. They haven't learned to be able to decipher the politicians, the good from the bad, the loyal from the wolves in sheep clothing. That critical aspect of thinking before you vote has not been communicated to the voters. So what I would like for your guests to explain to us, how can this message be carried on? Right now, we're listening to this program, and only about 30 people.
Yeah.
It's not a very popular program. But if we were cursing and calling Moncus and Pacus, you would find hundreds of people tuning in.
Mhm.
So my question to him is, how do you communicate? How do you educate that voting population that is there? How do you change the mindset? How do you expose them to more critical thinking? And that's my question.
Thank you. Ben, you hold him there, and I like the question, Jimmy just asked. I mean, look at this kind of uh, positive and informative show that we have having. Ben, you need to come on. What happened?
Yeah,
Ben?
Anthony. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
you disappear from the screen. What's going on? You need to come in, please.
No, I'm trying to. Somebody was trying to call me and they interrupted the show. That's why. Okay,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, you are still
okay,
here.
I'm back
All right.
now.
That
Yes.
is good. And that
Can
is
you hear me?
what.
Can you hear me now?
You got. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Yes.
He just asked you a very brilliant question.
Yeah. I mean, you see, I listened to what he said, but this is my reaction.
Mhm.
You see, I have been emphasizing this from the onset of this show.
Mhm.
The most important aspect a voter should consider when casting a ballot
Right.
is himself. Actually, you and I, most humans, we always give precedent to our self-interest. Our self-interest. You know, to some extent, we want our lives to be better. Everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm casting a vote, I should cast the vote from an informed perspective. You know, he talks about education. I listen to that. That's what I said. Okay, let's forego the election of 2005. We can say we just came out of war. There was a lot of chaos. Fair enough. But if we continue to vote the same in 2011 and 2017, then there's nothing wrong with our politicians, but there's everything wrong with us. Because before you cast the ballot, you must do it from an informed standpoint. I will repeat it if he's listening. We are a couple of weeks away from a major spate of election in Liberia. Every county, I have not seen a single platform from any of the candidates. This alone should worry the voters. Because if I'm voting for one of these people, what am I voting for? I'm not saying the guy coming on Facebook Live talking. I want to see documentation. I want to see something that I can read, that I can understand, that I can even dialogue about.
Ben,
So if somebody coming just talking, you know, I mean, like just saying here, talk is cheap.
Ben,
So
do
don't
you
just
think
vote.
the voter care? Do you think the
Uh-huh.
voters care about reading platform and being lectured about platform? Are they accustomed
Well,
to having
I would
interest
say this.
in? Let me learn. Are they accustomed? Are they used to? Do they see or know and understand the importance of the candidates telling them what they would do? Do they even care about that, the voter? Do they? These are voters who don't even care about any debate. Most
All right,
Liberian
you see,
voters, here's the thing, the caller just said that, look at this very informative and critical thinking show that should inform the Liberian voter. They are not here because it's so complicated for them. But if you are here and you are calling somebody's name as being the one responsible for this and that, they understand that. So how you think they will come to this point where they will listen to something of substance and value that would make them to make better decisions? You think they're going to get to that point ever?
well, I will say
Uh-huh.
this.
Uh-huh.
It might seem hard,
Right.
but it is not an impossibility. It is not. It is not an impossibility. I mean, obviously, it is hard, like you just talked about the show.
Mm-hmm.
We are out here discussing something very important, but
Mm-hmm.
we don't have a lot of people. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
But that should not stop us from speaking to these issues because sometimes it just takes one or two guys to listen to us and share that message with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not how much we have here. Our voices should be loud and confident because that is the only way Liberia will be transformed.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot give up. We cannot stop. We cannot stop because the future of the country is at stake.
Thank you.
The future of the country is at stake.
All
I
right.
mean,
Thank you,
people
Ben.
have to vote wisely. People have to vote from an informed perspective. That's what we have. And we also have to impose that on the leadership. Like whoever is leading Liberia, George Weah, somebody from the ANC, somebody from the LP, these are some of the messages they're supposed to be telling their partisans. And to a large extent, all of these things can be reinforced, but even when they have their own
Primaries.
primaries,
Mm-hmm.
because in their primaries, those who want to contest, they should also present their platforms.
All right, Ben. We have a
But
we have a caller.
we can't just handpick people. We need people with concrete agenda, concrete plan to move Liberia forward. And
Thank you, Ben. We
I
have a caller
understand
on the
it
on
might
the
seem
line.
hard, but we cannot give up. We
All right.
cannot give up. We have to continue to try.
That is true. We have to continue. We have a caller on the line. That is the CEO of Focus on Liberia, Dennis Jai. Dennis, welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is an hour of politics. Quickly to the issue.
Thank you, Sonny, and great show. Great show. I just want to piggyback on the question you asked about whether what your guest is describing is a product of the system, or we want to blame that on the youth voters. I will disagree with his premise because what I think is The problem is with the adults and not the youth or the 18 to 25 that he's talking about. Number one, have we built into our electoral system something like the last point that you guys spoke about, the primary? Have we built into our electoral system that we should have debates? Have we built into our electoral system that all these things that would take place? And the second part is the candidates, right? I believe that people all over the world vote on the issues that are very important to them, regardless wherever they are. And we saw that in the U.S. election.
Right.
Even though, for instance, they know that President Trump is X, Y, Z, but because he gives them what they want, they vote for him. So I don't see the difference with the Liberian voters. What I feel is the candidates are not making their case to the voters. Take, for instance, in the Monserrato senatorial elections now, every candidate is preaching to their own group.
Right.
As the next built into the system that people should have debate, people should talk. We that want the people to vote for us, we need to go after them with the message.
Right.
Nobody's going to vote for you if you don't get to them. So voters candidates sit in Monrovia, they are lazy. Nobody's doing the hard work. Nobody's doing the voter education. Nobody's referendum is coming up. There is nobody saying anything about it. So I believe the issue is not with the young people, it's with the adults, it's with the system and the governance structure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis Jha. That was the voice of the CEO of Focus on Liberia, Mr. Dennis Jha. Ben, please wait. Let me bring in this other caller. Caller with phone number ending in 0100. Your name and where you're joining us from.
My name is Jerome Gabriel. I'm calling from South Florida.
Mr. Gateman, an affiliate of Focus on Liberia, the host of the program On Point. Welcome. Quickly to the issue.
Yes, I think Mr. Fan is very astute. I think everybody knows that. I also want you to understand that we have something called a Republican form of government, which is called Republican. Constitutional democracy, we cause for an election of one of our own. Now, let's look at the literacy rate of Liberia. I think the literacy rate, the true literacy rate of Liberia may be about 20%. So we are talking about 80% illiteracy rate. So chances are, Mr. Farr, we are going to elect one of our own. So the chances of us electing a person that is illiterate is 80%. So to the question, it is not, in my opinion, it is not the electorate, it is not the politician. It is our lack of education, our lack of enlightenment. Until we can increase our number, until education can increase in Liberia, we are swimming against the wind or against the tide.
And
they
Mr.
are going
Gibman,
to elect one of their own.
Qualify that education you're talking about? Because are you talking about somebody having a degree or a high school diploma or knowing what they should be doing as a voter? Please qualify that education you're talking about.
I am talking about somebody that will have gone in the classroom to have at least a 9th grade education where we can read and write and discern and comprehend. That has not happened. Outside of Buchanan, outside of Monrovia, I don't see where you're going to go to district number 3 or you go to district number 5 in Bassa, where everything has to be translated, and you are asking them to actually discern, or even you talk about platform. Are you going to do your platform and translate in 17 or 18 languages? We have not done our job. For our democracy to survive and thrive, we have to do what Martin Luther talked about when he said, massive public education. It has to be a mandate that every child born in the Republic of Liberia from now on has to go to school, or it will become or persecutorial crime against the parents. And we have to start from there. But for now, we have at least 80% of our people that cannot read or write, or somebody has to interpret to them. So they are hearing not what they want to see or hear, but they are hearing what the politician is telling them. I have my own candidate, President Garfield, several of them, including Dallas Taylor from Bassa, that do not speak and understand the Bassa language. So everywhere they go, people, translators follow them. Are the translators telling them or saying exactly what they are saying to the Bassa people when they go outside of Buchanan? No one knows. So we have a problem deeper.
Thank you.
Real deep.
Thank you, Mr. Gilman. Thank you so much.
Please.
Yeah, all right. That was the voice of Mr. Jerome Gibman. Ben,
Yes.
I
would like to respond to that.
We have gone an hour. Please respond to the two callers, and then I can read comments too.
Okay. You know, when Mr. Gilman, who is my good friend, say this thing, sometimes I'm a little bit hurt because, you see, we have laws in the Republic of Liberia. We have laws. I will tell you this. You see what I have in my hand right here?
Mm-hmm.
Is a section of the National Election Commissioner responsibility. The National Election Commissioner, they were formed under the basis of laws. They have a responsibility. It's called civic voter education. It's right here. Civic voter education. That is part of their responsibility. They are not to tell people who to vote for, but they have to tell people in terms of their own responsibility how to vote wisely. And let me tell you this, there are monies budgeted for that. So if Mr. Gilman tell me that in Grand Bassa somebody cannot read and write, my understanding said there are funding for these activities. Whoever is going to do the civic voter education in Grand Bassa County is knowledgeable enough to transform whatever training they're going to do there into the Bassa language. You see, as we try to give excuses for some of the bad things that are happening, to a large extent, we will be facilitating them. We'll be accepting them. We have to say no, just like what he said. He said, to some extent, we have to draw the line. If your child doesn't go to school, we should prosecute you. It's the same thing. If the NEC cannot conduct civic voter education in every county in Liberia, substantive enough, but the voters will be in a position to think better, we should look at changing the head of the National Election Commission because that's part of their responsibilities. That's part of their job. It's not only to host election, to also conduct civic voter education.
And they should be persecuted too, you say?
No, what I'm saying is the head should be removed for negligence. And we can prosecute them. We can remove them because they are being negligent. That's part of their responsibilities. So let's not give excuses. You know, somebody cannot speak crime, somebody cannot speak cruel. We have a system developed that is funded to address those concerns. So what is the NEC not doing? When was the last time the NEC even held a civic voter education? When?
The other thing he said is that we have to do our job. He didn't go further enough. I don't know, when he said we have to do our job, he meant that people needed to be educated to the point that they can read and write English, or he said that we need to do our job to an extent that, you know, these information about elections and democratic matters are communicated in our local languages. And I don't know, that's why he was saying, but to that, your point that you were making, you are saying that is not an excuse. If the people can speak English, we have people who can speak English and speak back, they can communicate to them in Bassa, in Kru, in any other language. But to assume that because the person only speaks Bassa is a disincentive for the person to decide who they want as an elected official, I don't know how to term that. You come in.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's not only that we have the facility, we have the legal instrument constituted, and they are being funded. The National Election Commission have funding
Yeah.
They have money set aside for these activities. Everybody must ensure that they do it. It all boils down to what we call accountability. This is a public service that needs to be done because they are available funding. So I will not give excuse. Say the guy cannot speak crime, the guy cannot speak crude. That's part of the constitutional mandate of the National Election Commission, safer voter education.
And then on the other hand, if I can speak English, it doesn't make me a better person than a person who can speak English but lives in Grand Cru. It's in no way I'm better than that person. I just need to communicate with the person the information spelled out by law as to how to vote wisely. It can be communicated in that local language that person will understand and will act. Don't you think so?
No, I don't. It's not only I don't think so. I believe so. I believe what you're saying because you're right.
Yeah. All right, folks.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. I mean, I want to give you one stat.
Yeah, go ahead. I wanted to read comments quickly, but go ahead.
Yes, and this is Guinness from Legis.
Mm-hmm.
Legis. This is Legis from Liberia.
Yeah.
This is their report. Like I went to their website and I documented it. I printed them down. Mm-hmm. In Liberia, household, this was a survey done, mm-hmm. that don't have electricity, that use maybe lamp or something. They form the majority of household.
Don't tell me you have forgotten Jack-o'-lantern, or did you not use that when you were in Logan Town?
That's what I'm saying. They are 204,208. Now add that to the houses that use candles, 174,000. So together, almost 60% of the households have no electricity, zero electricity. Okay, fair enough. So somebody coming to me running for elected office, I would say, well, but this is legis statistics. What are you going to do in regards to my community? What are you going to do for us? And that is what I'm not talking about somebody having a PhD, somebody having because these numbers are real. These are real numbers.
Certainly they are.
So if somebody is to contest for an elected office in my community and we are facing these kind of problems, I would say, well, these problems exist. The data is real. So how are you going to address it? How are you going to alleviate some of this plight that I don't need a PhD for that. I don't. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Benjamin Kofa Fania there. He is a 2023 presidential hopeful. And he joins me today here, focus on Liberia on the Hour of Politics. And we are discussing the Liberian voters and the Asaki. We are having interactions with every voter that we can get here today. To you who are watching on Facebook, the poll is still there. Let me give you the update on that. The voters and the politicians, who are the greatest problem? 50% say the voters are the problem, and 50% say the politicians are the problem. We have 22% that participated in this poll, and 11 voted for the voters, and 11 voted for the politician. That is profound. So then the viewers are divided on the topic. So, but let me read comments here. I have Comrade Ekia Dan watching. Thank you for watching us here. E Kolobuzomu Zakama, that is Ato K. Zakama Jr. He's watching. Abraham Colley is following us from Liberia. Lincoln Colley, good afternoon, my dear friends, my dear friend and brother, he writes. And also the beautiful music you are playing. We played a very beautiful traditional music earlier. Veronica Jepo is watching us. The man Alice Coffee is watching us. The wife of the CEO of Focus on Liberia is watching us. Kesali Doba is watching us. Sese Goya, Jimmy Eastman. They are not commenting, answering good question. Wasaka, politics in Liberia is a business and is a shame for our democracy. Jarin Gaiman writes, Ben, what is the literacy rate in Liberia? Sarah Dopo writes, my own brother now Sarah Dopo, the voters are the problem. Sarah Dopo again, Kofa 2023 strong. I don't know whether Kofa will make it to that promised land. Clifford Travers, right? Civic education is a must for Liberia. The bulk of the population is uneducated and even illiterate. To solve this problem, allocate a significant amount of the budget to education, health, and agriculture. Ato Zakama writes, what isn't taken into consideration is the high rate of illiteracy, entrenched poverty, vulnerability, and gullibility of the society. Stephen Sipo, the problems are both the voters and the politician. Liberia's problem, to a large extent, are not poverty and hunger, but mental and moral bankruptcy. I agree with that one 100%. A friend of mine called Maurice Creighton, he's watching us from all the way Spain. I believe he's in Madrid. And those are just few comments. And folks, continue to vote. The pool is tied 50-50. I mean, 50% saying the voters are the problem, and 50% saying the politicians are the problem. Let me come back to you, Ben. They had a question. Now that you have identified this problem that we have, what is the solution?
All right, great. You see, a friend of mine called George Fambule, he made he made a remark, and it stuck with me ever since. He said, for government to work, government must work. That is, for something to happen, something must happen. I will bring back the stats, and based on this, I will say this. Rivers County, 79 business entity. Started 79 business entity in a county. What does that mean? That means almost the absence of economic or business activities. You know, business activity, economic activities is a magnet that attracts people. When more people come to any region, it spurs on development. But all of that should happen with the government being a facilitator. The government should be an agent, a mechanism through which the citizens' lives get improved. The citizen life is developed. That's why everything they do should be geared towards moving the country forward. Let me just say the first thing. In Liberia, the very first thing we need, and I will emphasize this when I hit Liberia, my first press conference there. The first thing we need in Liberia is to account for every citizen. Anthony Sear should be the single Anthony Sear in Liberia as he's the single Anthony Sear here. The unique identifier of Anthony Sear in America is his social security number. There's one Anthony Sear with that number. When Anthony Sear moves from one state to the next, he changes his address, his social security numbers remain the same. But what happened? Anthony Sear gets subtracted from his old state, he gets added to his new state. Government need that statistic. Government need that data to plan, to divide resources. Resources are planned based on statistics. In Liberia, look at all the statistics we have. They are not utilized. That's why we used to have the Ministry of Planning and Economic Affairs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, in her incompetence, she tore that ministry down because she don't know that everything that the government does is based on proper planning. So until we can develop that capacity, that ability, that system of planning, the country is going over. My brother, as I speak to you right now, nobody knows how many people live in West Point. We have a rough estimate. We don't know how many people live there because we don't have the available statistics based on residential address. We don't know how many houses are there. We don't know. The houses are not numbered. Even if it's a broken zinc structure, it needs to have a number. The people need to have identification. That's how we can share resources. That's how we can plan for developmental activities. Until we can start doing that, that is literally the foundation of everything the government will do. Identifying the number of people, then properly, providing them the resources they need to thrive. The key element you need after that, you need security. My brother, nothing will work in any nation state without security. Security means safety for those who live in your confines and also an impartial system of justice. We need an impartial system of justice. That is, justice should really be blind. If Anthony is a rich guy and I take him to court, I should win that case because I was right and Anthony was wrong. Anthony should not win that case because he has more wealth than I have. That is the next thing you need. Then, most important, next is accountability. When Anthony breaks the law, no matter how rich Anthony is, no matter how, no matter how linked up he is, Anthony should be held accountable, the same thing as the average Joe Schmo on the street. When society fails to hold people accountable, you have chaos. And let's look at it in Liberia. I just saw today someone who was charged and put in jail, released, put in jail and released. They said the guy printed, banknotes. Today, he's endorsing a candidate. He's endorsing a candidate. Everybody's clapping. Everybody's clapping. Have this person sufficiently been held accountable? When we hold people accountable, that serves as deterrent so that other people cannot engage in certain things because they will be afraid to be held accountable too. If the society lacks accountability, we invite chaos. Then next, we look at the education of our people. Look at our school system. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf called Liberian education system a mess. He says a total mess. What has changed? What is the structure? How do we leave high school in that environment? Do we leave high school with trade, with skill set to even survive? Because some people cannot continue on to college. They're everywhere in the world. How our school system is based. How is it laid out? We must have a structure so that the people graduating from high school possess some kind of skills to survive. Then we look at healthcare. Look at, when I look at healthcare in Liberia, I feel so disturbed. I call on the show today. There is no proper healthcare system in Liberia. And like I said, Anthony, if you go to the hospital right now, the first thing they will ask you after your name, what is your social security number? Your social security number will even bring up your insurance. But this is it when there is no properly designed healthcare system. The system don't work. As I speak to you today, a few days ago, we gave lawmakers thousands of dollars. We give lawmakers thousands of dollars, to compensate for their healthcare. We give people who are not sick, we give them money. The healthcare system should be invested in. Money should be poured there so that when a lawmaker is sick, he can go to JFK with a card and get treated free of charge. It's not to give the lawmakers money. That's not how you design a healthcare system. Then we look at employment, especially so for the young people. Employment should be focused on the young people. The young people, they are the future of the country. I will tell you that the fastest way to work on unemployment in Liberia is to engage in agriculture. It's not only farms. We also engage in value addition. It's not just to plant farm. After we plant crops and we harvest them, we add value to them so we can, in some instances, export them. Agriculture and infrastructure development. Those are the two things that will employ a lot of young people. But you see, all of those things that I've talked about, they must be properly structured. They must be properly planned, because without a strategy, nothing will work. In Liberia, most times we things just happen. Things shouldn't happen. Things should be planned out. Okay, then we come to housing. Anthony, as we speak today, I just talked about it right now. What is the address of a house in West Point? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. People come and say, oh, LEC, the people can't pay the bill because we don't have the basics. Every house, what is a broken down structure should have a number. That house should be accounted for. We don't have housing. We don't have an address system. It's like chaotic. But until, like your last, guest said, until somebody can stand up and say, no, we have to fix this. We have to have that determination, political will to say, no, we want to fix it, and we are going to fix this. That's the only way we change. So all of those things that I talked about, if we put them in place, especially so with proper planning and policies, those policies should have both timelines and they should mostly be assessed every 90 days or every full year to to gauge their implementation. Did we succeed? Can we adjust the strategy? But the whole thing is plan, plan, use, and gauge your strategies. To know if you need to improve or you need to adjust. Until we can start doing that, Anthony, we are going nowhere. We are going. I can ask all of your guests, all of the guys who call, let them show me a single initiative that is being done in Liberia now to improve the lives of Liberia. Let them show me one initiative.
So, Ben, you are saying we should plan, we should implement, and we should sustain.
Yes.
All right, folks in cyberspace, we want to say thank you so very much for staying with us throughout this educative and informative broadcast here at Focus on Liberia. I want to repeat that. Thank you so much for staying with us throughout this educative and informative broadcast. We discussed the topic, the Liberian voters and their psyche and interaction with Liberian voters. And we lay emphasis on the young people. And tomorrow we are having a show here at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Youth in Politics, the involvement of young people in politics, triggers, activities, motivation, and impact. We have 4 young people in Liberia that will be joining us here live on Focus on Liberia. You do not want to miss it. I have something to close with for you. And so stay with me. It's a political poem that I wrote. And let me read that for you. A political poem titled, When the Country Giant Came to Town. Anthony C. writes, the level playing field of 2017 with veracity and velocity raised the candidates. The country giant stood the tallest. The rest chickened out. Then the victory, the tears, the joy, the singing, the dancing, the celebrations were obvious and gleeful. Quickly settled the dust. Quickly the test, the people's men, quickly and quickly. Oh, the country giant, breaking grounds, building mansions too. The living flower before the court ear dog. The giant's must fly, then the private jet, boosting the giant's morale. It's a borrow jet. 24 years, stay rolling and loading. Then the news of the billions, the changing figures, 19 billion, then 16 billion, multiple printing location. They couldn't get it together. This is Liberia, a fairy tale of history. Then the news of the millions, the eloquent map-up minister, Mr. Unconventional Means, West Point, Town, you name it. Then echo the alarm, $25 million it was. They will investigate. The report? Stay coming. Long overdue. Heads, the promise will roll. But this too is Liberia. The giant got situated. The giant got situated. Eton and Iboma surface. Propo rice skimming. Bali Island. The fishing deal. The coastal highway lecture. $1 billion mineral swap. Fiasco, fiasco, fiasco. Condominiums at 5G speed. The 100,000 plus cars. The Clone Church. The moving theater. The radio system for the field-made journalists. The recording studio. Woki, woki, woki. Gauko winner. Gauko winner. Mr. President. Then the zombie dance. The country giant is in town. Written by Anthony C. the host of the Hour of Politics here at Focus on Liberia. That will be me. On that note, folks in cyberspace, I want to thank you so very much for being part of our educated and informative broadcast here at Focus on Liberia. Our goals are very simple: to educate, to elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Catch us tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Youth in Politics. You don't want to miss it. Ben, thank you. You did it. Bye-bye, folks.
Thank you very much.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our